Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, May 11th, 2026. We are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for today, the list, as always, is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for in these apps. Those are pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're topping that screen. We will get to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is going to be a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that giveaway as well. Prior to beginning today's daily collective read, I will be giving a brief recap on what we've been seeing in the cards over the last few days. Now, if you'd like to find those full readings, you can find them over on the place where we keep the videos. You can find them over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find them as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. But before we begin today, first and foremost, most important question, how are we doing today? Scale of 1 to 10. There are no wrong answers. Got a lot of things coming up in the next few days. We're going to talk about them. The most important thing to pay attention to right now is we've got a Taurus new moon coming up in Taurus season, on top of the fact that we've got a lot of planets that are moving into Taurus around the time that we're having that new moon. Don't necessarily mind it, but it's something to pay attention to, because the thing you have to recognize is we have had a remarkable amount of planets in Aries for some time now, particularly and especially this recent Aries season that we went through. That was a lot of intensity given the fact that we saw so many planets there. And when we're working through the energy like we currently are, there's something very important to notice or recognize as it relates to equivalency points. And what do I mean by equivalency points? It's very interesting because it was effectively coming up in the most recent collective reading that we did. And the way I want to describe it was we effectively saw in the masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update that we just did just a few days ago. And if you want to see that full spread, you can head over to the stack and you'll see it there on the article. But one of the things that we noticed, and I was working you guys through, was the fact that we saw a very remarkable similarity in the cards that were being drawn between masculine and feminine. Now, specifically, if you're going back for reference to those cards, look towards the first pillar of both of those energies. Because in the first pillar of masculine, we basically saw the Knight of Wands in its upright with the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal, followed by the 3 of Swords in its reversal. Now, what did we see in the first pillar of feminine? We saw the Knight of Swords in its reversal. We also saw the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. And we identified the Tower, where the 3 of Swords in its reversal was for masculine, but tucked in between them was an extra card, which was the Justice card. Now, put those together, and what do you have? You have a very similar message coming through, because the the Knight of Wands with the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal and the 3 of Swords talks about working through healing by being able to navigate the uncomfortable. It's a lot of the only way out is through. I'm not surprised to see it, given the fact that we see that Mercury is in Taurus right now. We're also going through the fact that Jupiter's in Cancer. So a lot of feelings potentially coming up, but working through nostalgia in the best way possible by putting it towards present fervor. Now, we see the same amount of energy that was identified in the first pillar of feminine. The Knight of Swords in its reversal with a Justice card is very similar to a Knight of Wands in its upright, because it is somebody who is potentially looking at taking a softer approach to things, which would again be similar to what we identified with the Knight of Wands with the Three of Swords in its reversal. With the combination of the Tower card there and the Justice, this could speak towards the same hindsight that we saw that was being referred to with that Jupiter in Cancer, right? The nostalgia that rather than dwelling on nostalgia, moving it into active fervor to move one further. So we see that a lot of that work is there, but it's frustrating because it requires the identification point of what is effectively needed in situations may not necessarily be the same quality in every single experience. It's a conversation that says what we bring to one situation that might feel balanced may feel over proportional in another. This is also why we potentially see right now, and I think we're going to see a lot of this with Uranus and Gemini, understanding that that there's toxicity, that there is inherent toxicity in inherent equanimity, because when you aren't navigating authenticity or the uniqueness of situations, trying to apply equanimity to something can actually be energetically debilitating, because it doesn't take into consideration the fact that individuals have advantages. That is what we effectively saw was occurring in the non-binary space reading. So it was a really incredible read that we had, because that was the overarching message. And I think that that's actually, like, when you get down to it, like when you get down to brass tacks, in terms of what I believe is the real difference that you're going to see between the difference between Uranus and Taurus versus Uranus and Gemini, is like, it's almost like describing the inherent laziness of someone saying, I gave you the same exact thing that I gave them, right? It's that observational point of how phoning it in is often the space of giving minimal effort by just being equal upon things. Whereas when one is working towards Uranus and Gemini, it's more about taking pragmatic approaches to things. It's more about kind of looking at the shape, the full facets of a circumstance or experience to understand the change that is needed to bring in something transformative. Now, I also am bringing this up because I'm going to tell you right now, I believe we've got another relationship shift that's occurring. And I believe it's going to be happening specifically around that Taurus new moon and Taurus season. Now, the reason I say that is because the last time we saw an energetic shift was during a Capricorn new moon in Capricorn season. We saw the relationship shift that effectively occurred in the space of moving out of moon relationships, or relationships that were coming together, focusing on the lessons of the moon card, into the world relationship. And what were the differences that we saw between those two energetic shifts? For a lot of those moon relationships, it's the ability to be able to navigate a relationship that has the capacity to navigate all of one's facets. So there's a lot of those relationships that may be moving deeper into relationship right now, having found a relationship that finally feels like it fully fits them, because it doesn't that require them to be only one version of the self or one facet of the self, but allows one to be able to embrace all of their energetic facets in a holistic way. These world relationships have been about working through discomforture, right? It's a continuation of what we're saying. The only way out is through. The ability to find a deeper comfort zone has to be basically being able to navigate one's own squeamishness as it relates to recognizing and identifying what one is vulnerable about. Holding on to the fact that vulnerability becomes a strength when we know when we identify it as such. It doesn't require us to be strong by being vulnerable, by being impenetrable, but the strength that we find in being able to understand what it is that we need to get better at. So we see that there's a lot of that work that's happening. Now we've got potentially another relationship coming up, and I feel like a lot of the reason we're seeing that is the conditions, right? This Taurus new moon, this Taurus new moon we've got coming up in Taurus season, talking about equivalency points. To see a lot of the work that we were identifying in the spread that was literally talking about equivalencies, and then seeing the fact that we have a Taurus new moon in Taurus season coming up, which is somewhat equivalent to the Capricorn new moon in Capricorn season that we started all of those world relationships on. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be characterized as the space by which we identify that shift occurring, though we do see that it is to a certain extent happening as we speak or now. In relationality to what to potentially energetically expect right now, the best thing I can describe that we're seeing collectively is being able to, like, it speaks more than anything in terms of making sure that one is not harboring, but one is harmonizing. And what do I mean by harboring versus harmonizing? It's the observation or the understanding that when one is harboring, one can never find harmony, but rather the space by which one is able to effectively identify what one is trying to do better is how we release anything that we are harboring, because it's the space by which we are able to identify and recognize the force of change by which we're trying to bring towards things. So for masculine right now, what we were really seeing in the cards, and again, if you're a tarot nerd, it would be you can go head over to the stack to look at the spread, because it was the thing about the spread that we did recently was that the pillars were not even. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, given the fact that we just identified that a lot of the work that we see that's happening right now with Uranus and Gemini is understanding what work is needed to bring a healthy sense of balance to things. So what was intriguing about the masculine spread that we read for is there was not one, but there were three of swords in its reversal that were arriving there. And the first one we saw was in the bottom of the deck, or in the unconscious space of masculine, and it moved right back up into the head space of masculine. So that effectively talks about how the unconscious is immediately made conscious when we avoid it, right? It's like it's the avoidance that shows itself, right? It's the aversion of the eyes that become obvious. It's the conversation that says, it's what we talk about when we say when you're working to avoid something, you usually bonk right into it, right? Because you're so overly focused on moving around it that you basically draw a circle. Like you basically draw a circle around the thing that you don't want to speak or see upon. So this is why we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, this could be a conversation one is having with unhealed masculine energy that often recognizes the work by which another person avoids, often articulates the space by which you can see where another person carries a complex, right? Like that is the shape of seeing another's complex. It's usually not the space that one talks about it, but it's a space that one goes like this, or tries to work into the space that one just kind of like moves through it and tries to, like, it's like the blank space or the blip to a certain extent. So we see that for a lot of the energy doing that. What do we see those are on the healing journey doing? They're going right into the heart of their discomfiture, right? And this is what we do. And sometimes when we do that, it can feel a little like we're stumbling around in the dark, but that's because we're getting a better sense of who we are in the process. Now this is what's helping to reaffirm or stabilize a lot of those new relationships that are coming together, because I would not be surprised if this is a lot of masculine energy taking baby steps in having uncomfortable conversations in relationality to their own vulnerabilities that are identified and recognized when they themselves feel triggered. Now, this brings us to feminine energy. Now, feminine energy, again, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Masculine had a disproportionate amount of cards in the center pillar. Feminine had them in the first pillar. And so what we effectively see there is feminine that often gets frustrated in having to do all of the work in the beginning that another person tries to take credit for at the end, right? And this is why I see that for a lot of the feminine energy, letting go of relationships that feel like they have to front load everything, right? The modality or experience by which they are effectively there to do everything that is heavy. And then you see energy kind of coming in cruise control to try to just, I keep on hearing like touch things afterwards to articulate the fact that they were energetically involved within it. I feel like this is a lot of the energy of feminine that is paying attention to the quality and situation as it relates to receiving consistent credit within things, or the modality or the experience by which when feminine is cared about consistently, then feminine feels energetically stabilized because it is the energy. And this is why we saw in the last pillar that we saw, the last pillar that we saw related to feminine, particularly in that third space, the four, we had a beautiful, you can see it over on the stack, the Four of Wands in combination with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was with the Seven of Cups, often speaks to the observation that when we are able to effectively, it's interesting because it's a conversation on what it means to be lauded, right? This isn't necessarily feminine energy that seeks praise for something, but lauding is different than praise, because lauding is articulating the accurate lore upon something, right? The way that something initially or inherently came about. So this is feminine that almost articulates a fact that feminine aspires not for praise, but for lauding. And this is what we talk about with laurels, because laurels are green and they talk about growth. So the observation by which another person articulates not just what you find at the end of something, but the space or place by which something is inherently aspired or inspired, because it's the auspice of inspiration that thereby creates the space that one receives a laurel, which is a laudate, which is the space by which another person articulates the space by which someone energetically created something. So we see that that's very significant and important there, that may be framing a lot of the conversations that feminine is having. Now, this brings us to non-binary energy. Now, non-binary energy, I will say, none of the pillars were balanced yesterday, and what was in the last reading we did, and what's fascinating about it is that masculine had a proportion of energy in the center pillar, feminine had a large proportion of energy in the first pillar, non-binary had it in the center pillar again. And for a lot of that energy, I feel like it has to do with working through circumstances or situations of navigating and recognizing one's own overprotectiveness. It's an understanding that often the difference between being highly triggered versus highly protective is the state or space by which one is able to identify and recognize to another the nature and the reason why one feels one way. And if you're ever, and I feel like for a lot of the energy working through that, it's the observation that if you're ever not sure if your trigger is reasonable, start to talk about why you're upset. Because if there's something about the conversation that feels cringeworthy, then that's usually the sound of the observation of something that needs to be energetically healed within, or something that one is trying to work through internally. So we see, I feel like that's a lot of the continuation of the energy that is, again, getting better. I mean, it's not, I don't even want to say they're getting better at stepping out of their uncomfortable zone, because I feel like that's not an issue with the energy in that space. It actually says to me, it's actually some of the energy that is ironically potentially taking more traditional approaches to things. And we see that for some of that energy, the ability to navigate discomfiture almost creates the space by which bringing something traditional into something actually feels like the point of discomfiture, which is interesting. It's almost like it's building into the context of being either more consistent with the self, or identifying and recognizing the consistency around a circumstance or situation, or talking to another about why consistency matters. Because the thing about it, you have to understand, and I feel like this is what's happening with a lot of the non-binary energy, is understanding that the full shape of trauma is often a lack of consistency. This is often why you'll see somebody who's traumatized when good things, you can be traumatized when good things are happening just as easily as bad things, because it's the lack of consistency in order to prepare for what one can expect that is actually where trauma resides. And this is why you'll often see those who will stay in very low vibrational situations, because at least the low vibration allows one to be energetically consistent within it. So I feel like it's almost a conversation that the energy is having about helping others identify that the source of trauma is not necessarily the quality of what is happening, but the lack of ability to be able to prepare for it. Which is why sometimes a good thing can feel just as triggering as a bad one, because if another person does not give you preparation, the lack of preparation is where the trauma resides. Now that is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning today's daily collective read. But if you would like to find that full reading, you can find it over on the place where we keep the videos. You can also find it over on the place where we keep the photos. You can also find it as a podcast over on my spot at Tarot Church and over on my stack. I would also encourage you to head over to my stack to learn more about our next tarot class, which is going to be happening on Thursday, May 21st at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the court cards in the Pentacle suit. If you would like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to our stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we have studied prior to beginning that next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the most absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events, as well as my online live schedule and my mystic meditation articles, which I post bi-monthly to help you work you through the lunation cycles. I'll be releasing one shortly on this new moon that we've got coming up. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly, at your schedule permits. Also for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey at a discount. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. But let me know in the comments how this energy is impacting you personally, because it is going to hit everyone just a little bit differently. That said, we are going to get started on today's daily collective read in the next few minutes, but if you would like to get on the list for today, the list is open. As always, it is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Being semi-lio, please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes. So make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. The other giveaway we're going to be doing today is a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that as well. For those who are joining us across the other apps, you can also get on the list today via my tree that has links in it in my bio. And if you are a paid member over on the place where we keep the videos, your paid membership entitles you to the same benefits that I've listed for those who are super fans. You will also be entitled to a free card, a free 1-card reading each and every day. I would like to be able to offer that over on the place where we keep the photos. I do need your help with that, friends. So if you could take a moment today and give me a follow over on the INSTA, I will thank you with an affirmation from a guide for the advanced soul. And if you're already following me there, just go ahead and share the live with 3 friends and comment shared, and I'll be happy to give you that affirmation as well. Taking a moment to catch up on some of the messages that came through as I was giving those updates. Thank you for joining us, Dylan and Tara. Welcome, Antoinette. Hi there, Jackson and Sophia. Thank you for the compliment, Fire Lord. Oh, that's funny. I never thought of it that way. I never thought it looked like my mic. Excellent. And thank you, Melissa, for joining us as well. How you doing today, Pinky? And Amber. Hi, in. Thank you for the follow. Excellent. Welcome, Favored, for the follow as well. Good to see you today, Per. Grand Rising Ryan. I hope you're having a good start to your day. Hi there, Mark. Welcome, Ivana. Good to see you, user 539. How you doing today, Stella? Excellent. Welcome, Natalie. Hi there, Bluke. I'm happy to read for you if you'd like to get on the list. List is open. You'll be the 3rd person read for. D, thank you for the follow as well. B, energy feels a tiny bit lighter than last week. Yeah, we're going to expect that right now. I think that it's going to be, we've been navigating, I feel like the energy is going to be lighter ever since Uranus moved into Gemini. We've also, in a few days, we've got a lot of planets that are going to be moving into Taurus too. So I do feel like this is a little bit of a lighter period that we may be currently experiencing between now and that happening. Ava, make sure that you're absorbing, make sure that you're observing, not absorbing right now. Observing, not absorbing. If something's triggering you, take note of it and let it guide your actions going forward. All right, my friends, we are going to get started. Before we begin, though, we do have, thank you for that beautiful gift, Avatar. Before we begin, we do have one individual who had priority before we started the Daily Collective. So remembering, if you ever want to have priority, which means you get the opportunity being read for before we start the Daily Collective read, you just need to get on before, you need to get on the list before we get started on the live. Stella, you have priority today. So good to see you, dear. Could you let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer? And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, it's an absolute lovely time to get on the list. You will be the third person read for. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for you across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. We read for here life path, highest priority messages from spirit, angelic, dream, interpretation, past life, mediumship, love readings, pet readings, animal spirit guide readings, akashic, mind, body, spirit, love, and aura. If you have information that you feel is relevant for the purposes of our read, you can include it in the notes when you send the donation. You can also post it in our subscriber-only disco channel in the appropriate channel. Oh, I know, they were so cute. Thank you so much for sending them. Okay, if you need another minute, I'm happy to also go ahead. We can also read for you once we complete the Daily Collective. Just let me know how much more time you need. I will also stress I'm not going to be on as long as I typically would today. So if you want to secure a spot on the list, please make sure you do so sooner rather than later. If you are on the hold list and would like to be added back to the list, all I need to know is the day that you are added to the hold list. I'll be happy to add you back as well. Hi there, Jason. How are you doing today? These are donation-based reads. So if you would like to get on the list for a personal reading, you can get on the list now, and you will be the third person we read for before we start with once we finish the Daily Collective. 3 cards for a donation of 29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of 23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. That said, we are going to get started. Before we begin with Stella's read, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the ram. We'll do that again after the next reading. And if you guys do me a favor, I'm going to pin up Stella here. Make sure to give Stella some love. And thank you for being the first person on the list today, Stella. You'll actually have an additional card in your reading. Can I please get 5 cards for Stella Angelic? Oh, wow. You know, I feel like I see that this is a really important time for you. And the reason I'm seeing that there's something that feels really important is, and I keep on seeing a situation by which you're moving further and further away from some type of energy. Like, it feels like, you know, the thing you have to understand is that, and I think that you probably recognize this, that when energy is working into the space by which another person does not, like, when another person is working through their own feelings of self-doubt, then they will see somebody that is doing nothing but trying to do the best they can, and they will allow it to become their fixation and focal point in relationality to trying to see somebody, like trying to take it personally that another person is trying to better themselves, is what I'm getting. And this is and I just keep hearing a message that often comes through, that when somebody says, do you think you're better than me? I almost feel like I see somebody saying that that is the sound of someone's insecurity, right? Because, and I keep on getting, it's okay to be proud about the things that you're doing. It's okay to be proud about the things that are happening around you. And there's nothing, but and this is often what you can kind of see, like insecure energy can only talk about miserable things, because it's the modality or the experience by which another person talks about something that's positive, that shows you everything you need to know about what happened in a relationship or situation. And I know it's going to sound wild, because it's interesting too. It's like, not only is there an angelic coming through on this, but it feels like there's some kind of past connection. I keep on hearing the echoes of a conversation where someone says, what happened between you and them? And somebody else saying, well, good things started happening to me. Right? And that's like, it's very sad, right? It's very sad. It's a sad state of affairs to recognize that. But sometimes that's often what is indicative when we're going through maturation lessons, right? The modality and the experience that I keep on hearing, a healthy relationship and a healthy friendship can handle a celebration. A healthy friendship and a healthy relationship can handle a celebration. But it's a sad state of affairs when there are experiences or scenarios where all that you can identify that's potentially happened in a relationship that feels like it's broken down is the state by which another person could not necessarily handle something energetically positive happening. I keep on hearing something happening to your benefit. And you'll often, I keep on hearing, like, be very conscientious. Like, your watchword right now is the word lucky. There's nothing lucky that's happening for you right now. There's nothing lucky. Everything I see that's occurring around you has to do with a tremendous amount of effort. It's a lot of this work that I see that you're potentially putting towards things. But if someone tries to articulate as you're doing that, the fact that not only, right, not only luck, but trying to give the inference that there's something else, like you must be doing something else for someone in order to achieve that. I want you to turn your back on an energy like that and never look back. Because that right there, that's the shape and nature of circumstances and situations I see that you're healing from. Dubious energy, right? Dubious energy that doesn't see you as a complete person, that would rather lick their wounds and articulate that there's something, that somebody is giving you a boon, rather than being able to identify or articulate the fact that something you're doing is the culmination of a lot of energetic effort and a lot of work. I want to give you some bottom of the deck on this reading right now. Yeah, and I'm saying this even more so with this Ace of Swords. This Ace of Swords in its reversal, I keep on getting the same message. I keep on getting the same message from one of your angelic guides, which says, bitter energy looks for boons instead of effort, right? Bitter energy looks for boons instead of effort, which is the space by which another person would rather identify or articulate than something else is going, like something else, that something is working towards your benefit off of something beyond, like something beyond the purview of everything you've been doing to try to bring it into being. There's no conversation that you need to have with someone like that, because it speaks upon the fact that what they're really saying is, because they know that they could never do that, they can't believe that you can, right? It's literally the sound, it's literally the energy. Like anybody who is dubious about something that you're currently doing, they can't come with you into it. You cannot be around dubious energy as you're trying to do something energetically exceptional, which is the space by which another person sees you working tirelessly, and all they have to say to you are situations and circumstances by which they're just trying to plant seeds of doubt in you. You don't need to confirmation. You don't need to be around someone planting seeds of doubt. And if somebody is concerned about you, what they should be saying is, what do you need? Instead of, are you sure about that? Because I just keep on seeing that I feel like there's some kind of energy that had some kind of confidence that you would perpetually be at their disposal. And the thing about it is, the word disposal is exactly what I see you healing from. You are not somebody to be present when another person needs a pick-me-up. You are not, I keep on getting, you are not someone's little treat. You are not there for another person to feel that they need to see you when they need their spirits lifted, but are never there for you when you need it too. And the reason I'm saying this is because I wouldn't be surprised right now with this type of energy if there's energy from the past. If there's energy from the past trying to return back to you in order to patch things up. And this is why we see sometimes there's no patching things, especially in the context by which another person doesn't take accountability to how they were disregarding us. If they don't come back with an apology, there is no conversation. Remember, I keep on hearing, pay attention to somebody who tries to use distance to heal things instead of the accountability that's needed to truly resolve something. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. You will be the third person read for. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing 2 giveaways today. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a reading giveaway when we get to 50K likes. So make sure you're tapping that screen and we will get to 50K in no time. The other reading giveaway we're doing today is going to be a reading giveaway for the highest gifter between now and the conclusion of the daily collective read. So I wish you a lot of luck if you're participating in that giveaway as well. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. I've been there with a partner. Hugs to you. Thank you guys for supporting each other in the comments. Oh, I didn't see the spam come through, Siobhan. Yeah. I feel like it's coming from several different directions. Particularly, I keep on seeing, I feel like a lot of it was coming through inconsistent friendships. Or friendships where like another person, like I keep on getting some friendships where another person is only there when they want to talk about, when they want to despair with you, but not in the space by which they want to celebrate with you. Grand Rising, Denise, good to see you today. And thank you, Soft, for the follow. We are going to get started on the Daily Collective in just a few minutes. But before we do so, a reminder, if you want to get on the list right now, it's a wonderful time to get on the list. You will be the second person read for. And before we continue right now, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the owl. Thank you for participating. We'll do it again after the next reading. And please remember, friends, we've got 2 giveaways going on right now. Our first reading giveaway is going to be a free reading for the highest gifter over on the Clock app between now and the conclusion of the Daily Collective read. So make sure to So wishing you a lot of luck if you're participating in that. And the other giveaway we're doing right now is when we get to 50K likes, I will be gifting a reading back to the collective. Currently, the highest gifter at the moment is Avatar with 504. Thank you so much for those beautiful gifts, Avatar. And if you guys could do me a favor and share this live, I would appreciate it. Make sure anybody who would like to be here for the live is here to receive it. That said, no better time than the present. Why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your tarot astrology for today, Monday, May 11th, 2026. We are going to be going through all of the signs today. The first sign we are going to be starting our reads are with today. We went forwards last time. We're going to go backwards, which means the first sign we're reading for today is going to be Pisces. My Pisces, if you're in the room, go ahead and comment. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. What do we have coming through for you this week? Can I please have 3 cards, please? 3 cards, please. Got 2 out quick. 1 more. Some resistance there. Pisces, we've got the 10 of Wands in its upright in combination with our Page of Cups in its upright, in combination with our King of Swords in its upright. This is some authoritative energy right now for Pisces. This is feeling like a lot of completion for those with Pisces placements. It feels like coming into a period of rest after some kind of big amount of work. And I think it's interesting because it almost feels a little bit like Pisces, like someone is trying to intrude upon your playtime. And here's the thing about Pisces placements. And Pisces, you potentially know this. Pisces are geniuses when it comes to understanding and qualifying the ability to give oneself a little reward after a Herculean effort. You know, like every Pisces does this, even if they don't tell others. There's always, Pisces understand that there's nothing wrong with having a little reward, particularly after we've done something that requires a lot of work. But, and this is what I almost see, like I almost feel like I've got a little bit of this heat coming off of Pisces this week. Because if it's the best way I can describe this is if someone sees Pisces this week in a state of rest and tries to mock them or articulate that they're being lazy or they're being in a space by which they're not working. I almost feel like I got to point this out. I almost feel like this could be some kind of argumentation point, because and I think you know this. I think you know that, Pisces. Like Pisces, like I think that this is a lot of the Pisces energy that is just getting much better at holding firm as it relates to boundaries. And I am also getting here, it almost feels a little bit like a Pisces getting frustrated at someone trying to either encroach upon their own rest or celebration point, right? Like this is the kind of conversation. It's interesting too, because it's very much in alignment with what I was talking about with feminine energy before we did a brief recap before we started the podcast. And this is almost like the Pisces saying to someone, if you weren't there, like if you weren't there to do all the work, then you don't get to get credit for the work. So there's almost a little bit of this Pisces energy, I think, is putting a little bit of that healthy proportion to things. And the proportion I see that they're bringing to circumstances and situations is effectively the Pisces. Like it's giving a little bit of that energy that says, like, give credit where credit is due. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, World card in its reversal. I want to point this out. Like, and it's interesting. I need to point this out. Like, and Pisces, you know this about yourself. You're very good at going with the flow. You're very, very good at going with the flow. But that's why, like, and you'll always notice this when a Pisces puts their foot down, it's often the space by which the Pisces takes ownership for emotions, but identifies, like calls, like when a Pisces calls out another's emotions for not being authentic, is when Pisces have no tolerance for someone who tries to weaponize emotions. And you have to understand, emotions are only weaponized if there is not a valid reason for holding them. Like Pisces understand this deeply. So make sure, Pisces, if you're going through this right now, use your words, right? Use your words. Have the conversation. Let the lesson be a blessing by putting breath to it, is the best way I can describe it. Continuing right now, next sign we're reading for today is going to be our Aquarians. Aquarians, how are we doing right now in this energy? Make sure you're hydrating. Can I get two more? We got two cards out. One more, please. We've got the Five of Wands in its reversal. We've got the Seven of Cups in its reversal. And we've got the Four of Pentacles in its reversal. I feel like, Aquarians, I feel like this week you might be feeling a little out of sorts. You know, like I got to describe these cards I'm seeing here. It's like, it's giving me like scratchy sweater kind of energy, which is like feeling like, it's just like, you know, it's like not feeling your best, not feeling your worst. It's like kind of going through a case of the blahs, is the best way I can describe it. And the thing about it you have to understand is there's something very like the one thing I kind of see here has a bit to do with the fact that I feel like for Aquarians, there's something very important in being able to commune with other energy. Aquarians need someone to bounce ideas off of, right? Like it's giving me a lot of the energy of understanding that, and Aquarians understand this profoundly. And this is why, like, when an Aquarian will often call someone up to hash something out, because it's very easy to get very over focused on something that's not that important. is the best way I can describe it. And I always like to point out, Aquarian, when you're in a good space, you have a really good ability to catch yourself doing that. You know, it's like, it's the overthinking. It's the overthinking that can sometimes be an absolute blessing and benefit to others around the self, but can sometimes feel detrimental to the self because it's hard to see one's forest through one's own trees. Make sure you're having those conversations before making assumptions on things, because it's even saying to me, it's funny because this is what I'm actually hearing is when we make assumptions, we get lost in the leaves. And the reason I keep on getting that is when we make assumptions, we get lost in the leaves because sometimes we see the result of something rather than the cause, right? So make sure that you're not predicating a decision based on a reaction, but getting to the bottom of what is going on, right? So don't, like, like, I want to say in the best way possible, like, make sure that you're doing your research before articulating upon, like, your own, like, before you diagnose a situation. That's the best way I keep on seeing this, because there's something I keep on getting, and this is what I see with that 5 of Wands and the 7 of Cups in its reversal, that sometimes the results of something isn't the source of it. And so paying attention to, I keep on getting, paying attention to the difference between symptoms and causes is the best way I can describe it. Bottom of the deck for Aquarians right now. Yeah, that World card doesn't want to leave the bottom of the deck today. So the thing I want to, and in that way, it's very similar to the Piscean energy, right? And I want to describe, like, I feel like it, especially in relationality to another person's volatility, right? Like when you see another person volatile, the volatility is often hiding something, right? It's a space by which our volatility doesn't allow us to get to the bottom of things, but often feels like an energetic distraction. So, like, make sure another person's volatility isn't moving you off the subject, and make sure that, again, if you're having feelings, like if you're having feelings about something, like don't let the feelings, because, and I was saying this earlier, okay, one thing to keep in mind is this new moon is going to potentially feel a lot like a full moon. Don't do something in the heat of the moment emotionally that you might later come to regret. Continuing to get clarification. Moving through, we're going to be getting to our Capricorns. How are we doing, Capricorn? Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. What do we got for you today? What do we got? 3 cards for Capricorn. These feel balanced. Ooh, these, I haven't even turned them over yet. They feel balanced. All right, we got the Ace of Wands in its reversal. Don't mind it. What else do we have? We've got the Magician in its reversal. Okay, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. The 4 of Wands in its reversal. I feel like you're getting your time back on something. It's interesting. It's for Capricorns, it feels like something that isn't working out in the best way possible, if that makes sense. You know? And I want to point this out. And like, listen, here's the thing about, you know what? I don't know why you do this to yourself, Capricorn. Capricorn, you have that tendency of overly obligating yourself to stuff. You know what I mean? You got that tendency of overly obligating yourself to stuff because you don't want to let others down. And so I feel like there's something about this that feels a little bit like Capricorn doing some work in terms of identifying their own energy. And here's the thing, and you know this, Capricorn, right? When you hold your boundaries and energy cares about you, you like Capricorns gets, especially if like Capricorn's got like a Leo around them, like what does a Leo always say to a Capricorn when they see Capricorns employing their boundary? Those Oh my God, those boundaries look amazing. Scorpios will do it too. Like those boundaries look amazing on you. Oh my gosh, you should wear those boundaries all the time. Right? Like it feels like that. It feels a lot like that. And so I feel like to a certain extent that's basically, I feel like that's what I see a lot of the work of Capricorn doing this week. And in a way, I almost feel like it feels like almost a week by which, like, going back to I keep on getting, like, you can do stuff, like, you can do something, Capricorn, just for the joy of it. Like, I feel like that's what we're kind of seeing. That's potentially happening right now. It almost feels like Capricorn getting a hobby or going back to something that they used to just do for the joy that it brought them. Because here's the thing about it. Creativity is ineffable, and creativity is ineffable. But when we're creative, it brings things to us in ways and possibilities that we can't imagine. So I feel to a certain extent, this is a lot of the Capricorn energy, almost carving out some time to do something just for the love of it. Just for the love of it, because that is the nature of self-love, right? It's not the space by which we feel, and sometimes that's what we need to recharge our batteries. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, especially because I feel like there's some kind of period of heavy work that you're coming up upon, right? Like this is like Pisces is ending. Pisces is ending a very arduous cycle. I feel like I see Capricorn rolling up their sleeves and getting ready to start something that's going to be arduous, which is why that would make a lot of sense in the context of what we're seeing here in relationality to being able to step back so that one can step forward more. So make sure that you're carving out that time for self-care, Capricorn, particularly and especially if you know that you've got a season coming up where you're just going to be like I've got like nose to the grindstone kind of energy, like away, like working, right? Like let this be your energetics period of self-care. Thank you, Capricorn. Next sign we're reading into today is we got our Sagittarius. Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising. If you're here, go ahead and comment. Can I get through? Whoop, that one's coming out fast. Already transverse. We've got a bridge energy there. I've already seen the card. It's interesting. I feel like Sagittarius has seen the card too. That's interesting. Two more. Oh my God. Sag, are you hurting your own feelings right now? Are you hurting your own feelings? What's going on? What is this? Sag, what did you hurt your own feelings on? Sag, what is this? These cards for Sag right now. Sag, what do you do? Listen, okay? What is this? These cards for Sag. What is this? Listen, okay? Here's the thing about it. You can't. Yeah, I feel like there's something I'm hearing for Sag that says you can't have your world rocked. Like you can't have something rock your world if you're not ready to have the ship rocked a little bit. And I feel like there's, I got to point this out. I've been seeing this a lot for the Sag energy. Jupiter in Cancer right now is doing like a real number. It's doing a real number on the Sages. I feel like we need to have a support group right now for all these Sages that are navigating a lot of this like Jupiter and Cancer energy. Because the thing about it is I feel like there's something really important about Sagittarians getting in better touch with their emotions right now. But what do we, and I feel like there's also something important there. And I want to say this delicately. because sometimes I feel like this is a little, I feel like most Sagittarians know this to a certain extent, right? What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? And it's the modality by which we articulate that you're not necessarily okay with something unless if you can handle another person doing it too. You know what I'm like, and this is the, and here's the thing, like Sages often go through this, and you know what I'm talking about, right? The modality by which a Sag articulates upon the fact that they're fine, like they're fine doing something, but seeing another, like when we're not okay with something unless we see another doing it in the same way. Okayness okayness is not articulated by our own comfortability. Our okayness is not identified by our own comfortability. Okayness is identified in the space by which we see another person doing something we're okay with, and we still remain okay with it. And I either feel like that is Sagittarians telling somebody that, or working someone through that, or going through that personally, right? It almost feels like the Sagittarians having to work through some Libra lessons. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Oh, and I've got a card on the, yeah, there's a card on the floor for Sages. Yeah, there you go. There's that queen of swords in its transverse. Because the cards we have for Sag, and I'm going to show you the cards now because I didn't, it's the Ace of Cups transverse with the Three of Pentacles upright, which is and the Seven of Wands in its reversal. With, again, bottom of the deck, the two cards that fell, the Queen of Swords transverse and the Hermit card in its reversal, right? And that's what I keep on seeing here. I feel like this is something about Sagittarians going through. I keep wondering, there's nothing wrong with going through hurt feelings as long as we understand the proper way to nurse them, right? Which is not the space by which we project our feelings, but that we identify and recognize what we have to apply care to in terms of what it is that we ourselves are trying to heal or alleviate upon. Thank you so much, Sages, for having that reading. Next sign we're reading into today is, we got our Scorpios. Scorpios, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Tap the screen. What do we got here? 3 cards for Scorpio, please. What do we got? What's going on with my Scorpions? Oh, la-di-da. La-di-da here. Ace of Wands in its reversal. Moon card in its reversal. Oh shoot, somebody's dropping some tea. This is tea. New tea drop. New tea drop. New tea drop for Scorpio. These cards for Scorpio, right? Any other sign, I'd be worried. These cards for Scorpio. Scorpio, what tea did you find? What is this tea? This is piping hot. This is piping hot. This is piping hot tea. This is piping hot tea that a Scorpio feels gives them an advantage on something, is what I just see, like, I just see a Scorpio. And here's the thing about it, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful when you see a Scorpio like smiling. When you see a Scorpio that's smiling, like, you know, that you ever seen it, like the Scorpio's got this certain smile. I like to describe it. It is the certain smile a Scorpio takes when they see somebody like just digging their own grave in something. Like just will literally sit there. A Scorpio will sit there and watch someone pull out all of the rope on their own self. They will watch somebody dig themselves, just dig. And you'll see the Scorpio just sitting there. You'll be like, what are you doing? And Scorpio will just be there. I'm admiring the view. What are you looking at? Just wait for it. Right? I can see Scorpio going, I'm admiring the view. I've got my Bev. I'm just sitting here. Oh, no, don't bother them. Let them continue. Let them continue. Let them continue. I just see a Scorpio going, no, let them continue. No, it's fine. No, 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 let them, they're not done talking. Like it's that type of energy because a Scorpio, like when you see a Scorpio and when you see a Scorpio, see somebody on a tirade, there's that person on a tirade and you see a Scorpio sitting there smiling, silent. That's because Scorpio's favorite show is on. And Scorpio's favorite show is watching someone grave digging. Right? Like I can just see the Scorpio going, no, 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 don't know, maybe my favorite show is on. No, 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 let them, no, 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 just wait. I don't know. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is about. This is just what I'm reading. I just keep on seeing this week Scorpio's favorite show is on. And it feels like it's Scorpio's favorite show is on because they have the tea. They have the piping hot tea in someone making an absolute fool of themselves. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, there it is. I was gonna say I bet this is the Fool card. It's close, right? It's close. Like if it wasn't going to be the Fool card, then having the Page of Swords is a very close second. Good enough kind of energy. Because you have to understand, and I want to point this out, right? And Scorpio, you know this is the case, okay? This is not a situation of meanness, okay? This feels like Scorpio seeing mean energy, right? This is not a situation of meanness. This is not a situation of meanness. This is, I got to tell you, this almost feels like a situation of Scorpio seeing someone mean, getting their due, and also being the energetic arbitrator of it in some way, right? Like it's like, this is what I like. It's Scorpios and Aries are like this, man. Scorpios and Aries, like, which is the space by which another person, right? And that's, and here's the thing you'll notice, right? Like Scorpios will wait until, like Scorpios will literally sit there watching someone who is mean dig their own grave, and they will stop people. They'll be like, no, 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 let them go. No, let them, they're not done talking. Let them finish, because what they know that they have, right? They're like, because they're waiting for the tea to get sweeter and sweeter, which is to say that when something they can bring into situation brings balance and they see another person being cruel about it, that is a space by which they're just like, okay, no, you go on. No, you go on. No, I'm fine. No, please, can you repeat that last part? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I got it down correctly. Woo, Scorpios, I don't know what's going on this week, man. I don't know what's going on this week. All right, let's continue right now. All right, let's continue. Next person on our list for today. The next sign we're reading for today is Libras. My Libras, how are we doing right now? Where are my Libras? Sun, Moon, Rising. 3 cards for Libra, please. 3 cards for Libra. What do we got here? All right, we got, okay, we got Queen of Swords, and it's upright for Libra. Empress card in its reversal for Libra. It's actually feeling a little bit similar. Oh, and a Page of Pentacles. Oh, this is gossip. Like, this is gossipy. Here's the thing. Okay, listen, and you know this, Libras. Don't tell me you don't like gossip. Here's the thing about Libras. Everybody likes to say that Scorpios like gossip. Scorpios do not. Scorpios like tea. Okay? Scorpios like tea, which is tea is different than gossip, because tea is the quality and condition of knowing what is happening, right? And then seeing everybody else, like seeing what's happening in the context of what you know versus what everybody else knows. That's what tea is, right? And that's why you'll see Scorpios going like, you can't handle the tea, right? Like, you can't handle the tea. Because they'll see somebody acting foolishly, and they'll be like, you couldn't handle the tea I'd be able to provide. Libras like putting the detective hat on. Libras like going on treasure hunts for things, and then like the thing about it is when something gets ridiculous, like Libras roll up their sleeves. Right? because Libras are like, oh, good, something I needed here, right? It's like Libras coming into their Superman, being like, everybody stand back. This is what I'm supposed to do. It's like finally, I can bring some balance to something. So I feel like to a certain extent, it feels like, I want to describe it. I know this is going to sound a little odd. And this is why you'll notice Libras don't mind arguing, as long as, right? As long as somebody has a valid point. Libras are always on the hunt for a valid point. They're always looking to sharpen. And so I feel like that's what I'm seeing for a lot of Libra energy right now, potentially working through a situation that's the complete like a complete like mess to a certain extent, but feeling the benefit of coming out the other side sharper for it is the best way I can describe it, right? That's the, you see that there's that Queen of Swords I was talking about, right? And here's the thing about it. Libras don't mind that as long as it's healthy sharpening, or as long as it's honing, right? Because I feel like that's a lot of the Libra that potentially moves away from something, and they feel like they feel the frustration, but then they feel the benefit of coming out the other side of something with a deeper sense of clarity. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, like the one thing I will say for Libras right now, because the thing that makes me a little bit wary is there's a lot of sword energy right now in Libra. Libra, you know what I'm going to say right now. We fight battles on each other's behalf when others want us to fight those battles for them. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. We fight battles on each other's behalf when another person is okay with us doing so, right? Don't be going on a crusade this week. Okay, don't be going on a crusade. Because the thing about it is, and I keep on seeing this, all right, it's only protecting if another person wants to be protected in that way, okay? No crusading. And what's crusading? Doing something in someone's name that they haven't articulated that they need or want you to do it with. You know what I'm talking about, okay? And I feel like that's either you articulating that to another person or reminding yourself that, right? How would you like me to proceed? How would you like me to proceed is a very powerful gift that we give each other. That's how we empower each other to be unified in our choices. Thank you, Libra. Continuing right now, next sign on our list for today is our Virgos. How we doing, Virgo? I feel like it's a little bit of a relief right now. I haven't even drawn the cards yet. Can I get 3 cards, please? Three cards. What do we got? We got the 9 of Wands in its upright. We've got the 10. Okay, this is good. We got the 10 of Cups in its upright. And we have the King of Swords in its reversal. We've been getting a lot of sword court cards out today. I'm not surprised about that. You know, what I'm seeing, like, here's the thing for Virgo right now. I feel like this is like an organization week. You know, like I keep on getting when everything is a mess, we can carve out a sanctuary, is all I keep on hearing. When everything's a mess, we carve out a sanctuary, which is like, it feels to me like there's something about Virgo building into the focus of creating some kind of space of energetic retreat. And I want to describe it. It says to me a treat retreat, right? Not retreating, but being able to effectively plan for something in a way that gives one the ability to tackle a lot in a short period of time. And I feel like that is what a lot of the Virgo energy is doing right now. It's understanding that sometimes, and this is the thing about it, and it's interesting too, because connected to what I was reading with Libra, right, in terms of sharpening. But when we're trying to do everything at once, it doesn't give us the opportunity to drill down into things, right? Because it can often create the space by which, just as we start to feel like we're getting started, we have to stop again. So I feel like this is Virgo that is giving themselves larger portions of time in order to accomplish something. And not just a larger portion of time, it almost feels like the energy that is effectively, it feels like the energy that is, how do I describe it? Locking time in. And when we say locking in, when I get lock in means no distractions, right? So I feel like that's the word that's coming through right now for Virgo. I feel like I see Virgo energy locking in, but then having to be clear to another person what locking in means. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, locking in is a distraction-free zone, is what I keep on getting. Like that's the hard part about it. Like I literally see Virgo almost having to say to someone, I need to lock in. And somebody else being like, cool, where are we going? And the Virgo looking at someone being like, I'm locking in, which means you can't come with. Like it's almost like the Virgo trying to explain, like having to get out a graph paper and be like, so when I say locking in, it means that there's no distractions. And the thing about it is you have to understand, and this is often what happens for Virgo energy, is that Virgo energy is very concerned with other people being comfortable. So even when there's almost like an impossibility point, Virgo, you know this about yourself, that when you say you need to lock in, you almost need to go into hermit mode, because it's the modality by which another person is there, even if they're taking care of themselves. It's not the fact that they are, but it's the fact that you're aware of their presence that can sometimes create an impossibility zone, because it's almost like the energy that creates a force field preventing the energy to lock in, because the Virgo is thinking about whether the other person is okay. So I feel like that's the hard part, because I almost, not just the fact that I see that they're trying to lock in, but they're potentially trying to let another person down gently, as it relates to the fact that locking in is solitary work, if that makes sense. Continuing to get clarification. Next sign we're reading for right now is our Leos. How are our Leos doing? Leos, sun, moon, or rising? 3 cards, please. What do we got here? What's going on with my Leos? Something's up. What is this? Oh, Page of Pentacles in its upright. I'm telling you, so many sword court cards today. Queen of Swords in its reversal. Ace of Wands in its upright. Yeah, this is, you know, here's the thing about it. Well, this type of energy for Leos right now, here's the thing I'm going to point out. It's not that it's negative, but I need to point this out. The sound of somebody losing the best Leo they've ever met is somebody that does not recognize the sound of another person trying to champion them. I'm gonna tell you right now, like, and whenever you see this happening with Leos, it is literally like, it is epic, because you will see a Leo doing the work in trying to be another's champion. And if another person is too up in their feelings as it relates to their own insecurity, they will literally destroy the best friend they ever energetically had, specifically and particularly because their insecurity energetically blinds them to the work that a Leo does on behalf of their friends. And that's the thing about Leos. Leos, you know this to your core, right? Leos are always trying to hold the door open. Leos are always in the space by which they're like, do you think we could fit a few more people in here? Right? Like Leos will literally be like, no, look, we can get some more seats. We can put some people up here. Like the space by which, right? Like Leos often identify the space by which they will try to do everything they can for everyone. And the sound that you will hear, right? When a Leo reaches the moment or the space by which another not only does not see that, but takes the Leo's generosity for granted, like that is the last time, right? And Leos will often articulate, right? Leos will, you go to a Leo and you say to a person, what happened between you, right? And a Leo will unpack it. A Leo will literally sit there and carefully take everything out and show it to you and say, did I assess the situation correctly? And another person will say, wow, yeah. And again, and that is often the space. And here's the thing about it. Like I almost see a situation by which Leo articulates, like, and this is what I keep on seeing. This is Leo articulating the nature of situations by which they had to use claws in the gentlest way possible. And that's the thing about it. Leos always use their claws gently. Bottom of the deck. Because Leos understand that even when they use their claws gently, the effect is energetically devastating. It's very, Leos and Aries understand this to their core. That's why you'll always see Leos and Aries that have a very delicate relationship to their anger, because Leos will often articulate and say, I do not want to draw this out, but if I must, I understand what these claws are for. And often the space by which another person articulates and says, why did you do that? And another person that articulates and speaks towards and says, well, this is the nature of the situation that energetically required a step to be taken. We see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, there's something very important in relationality to working through the context of emotion. But it's the emotion that they effectively bring to circumstances or situations that help to demarcate and elaborate upon the source of energetic frustration. And here's the thing about it. Like, I feel like for a lot of Leos going through that, Leos will be gentle until they have to be clear. And when they are clear, like, be prepared for that roar to be heard, is all I keep on seeing. Continuing to get clarification, moving into our Cancers. Cancers, Sun, Moon, and Rising. How are we doing today? Can I get 3 cards for our Cancers, please? What do we got here? We got the Queen of Wands in its reversal, in combination with our 10 of Swords in its upright, in combination with our Lover's card in its reversal. This is emotional. I mean, it feels like it's emotional, but it also feels somewhat restorative. And the thing I want to identify with what I'm seeing here for Cancers is I feel like this is the type of week that helps Cancers identify and recognize um, what is possible to change versus what one must accept, particularly and especially in relationality to circumstances or experiences that feel energetically exhaustive. There's something I'm seeing right now for Cancerian energy that feels akin to rest or recovery. And the thing I keep on seeing with a lot of that Cancerian energy is understanding that a healthy relationship is a two-way street. A healthy relationship is a two-way street, which means you shouldn't have to bring Atlas energy to every relationship. A healthy friendship does not require one to be the source of all the heavy lifting. Um, a healthy partnership should not require the space by which one feels like one is always having to bring about some kind of Herculean effort to things. And so I feel like it's actually interesting because I do feel like there's a little bit of that balancing that we spoke about that's happening here for Cancers. But for a lot of the Cancerian energy going through that experience, it's the observation between what is in your power to change versus what is in your power to accept. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Yeah, we've got a lot of 10 cards here. And it's interesting too, because as I started to read for Cancerian energy, my throat chakra like really started closing up. And the thing about it is I feel like there's something happening with Cancerian energy that has everything to do. This feels protective of other people, right? This is often what you'll notice with Cancerian energy. Cancerian energy is similar to Leo in relationality to what they'll tolerate versus what they'll see another person going through. And it feels very overprotective, right? This is almost the energy that says, you can do that to me, but you can't do that to them. Because when you do that to them, like it almost feels like the energy that gets protective in terms of what they tolerate versus what another person has to go through. And so I feel like that's what I'm seeing with Cancerian energy, understanding that they're willing to go through something so another doesn't have to, but they won't stand watching another person have to go through something similar, right? Like that is the energy that almost articulates it's any. That's what it feels like. Somebody saying we go through things so that others don't have to, but we recognize if we're doing something extraneously, we don't expect others to have to navigate our similar extraneous behavior. That's the best way I can describe what I'm seeing here. Geminis, 3 cards for our Geminis, please. 3 cards for Geminis. There's that Queen of Wands in its reversal again. Doesn't want to stay in the deck today. Page of Wands in its reversal with the Queen of Wands. And the 9 of Swords in its reversal. I have to point out, I don't mind necessarily. It feels like inner child healing. I'm not surprised about this. Here's the thing, Gemini, I feel like there's something right now for Geminis that may feel extremely surreal and profound because you have to understand Uranus has moved into Gemini. That's big deal because for Uranus, for those with Gemini placements, Uranus in Gemini might be feeling the space by which there's more of an acclamation to others, being willing to take approaches to things that they may have shied away from or been less inclined to in previous experiences. I feel like there's a maturation process. that's happening for a lot of Geminis right now. And for a lot of those Geminis that are maturing, I just keep on, it's interesting. It's not so much that the Geminis are maturing, but situations that Gemini had to walk away from because the energy wasn't mature enough yet. I feel like that's the type of maturation process I see is currently surrounding Gemini, right? It's somebody, it feels like something coming into fruition, or the ability to be able to, like the Gemini being able to be adaptable in a way that one never has before. And being able in the process to find simultaneous adaptability, right? It's like it's a double adaptability moment. There's something about finding some kind of point of harmony here. Bottom of the deck on this reading. Yeah, we've got the Ace of Cups in its upright. So I feel like there's something important right now for Gemini energy and making sure that one is prioritizing self-care, or not like burning one's candle at both ends to a certain extent. I'm not sure why, but I almost feel like I see a lot of Geminis right now with a lot of different irons in the fire. Like I wouldn't be surprised right now if Geminis are going through an experience by which a lot of things aren't necessarily coming to fruition, but there's a formation of a lot of things around them right now, which is like an exciting time, but also a little bit of a nail biter because nothing is necessarily locked in, but it feels like there's a lot of things that are coming into form. So just make sure that you're being conscientious and caring for yourself and patient as you're waiting for some of these ships to come in, is what I keep on seeing. It's gonna, like, things are gonna happen the way that they're gonna happen, but a watch pot never boils. Make sure that you're just, if one thing isn't working, just turn your attention to another thing, right? Give something time. Give something time to gestate, is what I keep on seeing. To allow it to come into, form the way that will be best ideal for you, is what I keep on hearing. I feel like in a way, like it's hard because some of the Gemini has to like trust the process. And I know that that's like the last thing that Gemini you desire to do, but I really mean it. I feel like it's going to be important here. Continuing to get clarification. Next sign we're reading into right now are Taurus. 3 cards, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. What do we got coming through for you this week? We've got Page of Cups in its reversal. Knight of Pentacles in its upright. 8 of Cups in its upright. This feels like getting more serious about something. You know, the one thing I want to say is it feels a little bit for some Taurus energy like working through situations or circumstances where you may have potentially feel like you've spread yourself out too thin, is what I keep on getting. And like, here's the thing about it, and I want to point this out. Venus is in Gemini right now. And I feel like to a certain extent, Venus in Gemini with these many planets in Taurus, do not compare yourself. This is not the time to be comparing things or to compare like where you are versus where another person is. Comparison is literally the thief of joy. But the thing is, and especially with the placements that we currently have right now, and especially with the fact that we've got, especially with the fact that we've got Uranus and Venus in Gemini as we're going through Taurus season, and we've also got Jupiter in Cancer, then, when we are comparing, we are literally in the job. It's almost similar to what I was saying with Sag energy. Comparing is literally being in the business of hurting your own feelings, right? Because there's always someone, right? There's always someone who seems that they have something, like they're doing something in a way that we're not doing it, or they're doing it a little bit better. That's inspiration, right? That's not comparison, that's inspiration. So make sure that that is inspiring you, right? Not conspiring against yourself in the context of being upset, like not allowing that to get to the better of you is what I keep on seeing. And I think that that's really important right now, because there's something about this energy. And I think it has to do with the fact that we've got a lot of planets that are about to move into Taurus, but we've also got Uranus that is leaving Taurus. So you're not late for your own journey. Everything comes in the way that it needs to come. And when we're feeling frustrated, particularly as it relates to anything that we're comparing ourselves to, right? Remember, all we do when we compare is we're not in bottom of the deck. Yeah, like Knight of Swords, and it's in bottom of the deck. So like, don't be in the business of hurting your own feelings. All you do when you compare is you hurt your own feelings. And I either feel like that's you kind of working through that with the self, or having to have that conversation with another person that's working on that towards you, right? Like I keep on hearing, like we should not be in the business. In a perfect world, we should not be in the business of having to apologize for good things happening to us. But often when we're navigating insecure energy, it often feels like that's what we have to do. So make sure, like if somebody is coming towards you in a way that feels confusing, the words, "What would you have me do?" is a good way to determine if there's actually something productive that you could be doing differently, or if another person needs to check their feelings at the door. Thank you, Taurus. Next sign we're reading for, final sign today, are our Aries. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. What do we have coming through today? Can I please get 3 cards for our Aries? What do we got here? 3 cards. We've got the Page of Wands in its upright, the Lover's card in its upright, and we have the 10 of Swords in its upright. So I feel like for a lot of the Aries energy right now, this feels very protective. This feels like Aries ready to go to town on someone on the best way possible. Because you have to understand, Aries will not, like, it's similar to what I was reading for Cancer. Aries don't feel the need to protect themselves, but if they see somebody that's trying to hurt another person, they'll be there in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like, and it almost feels like I feel like this is Aries giving someone a stern talking to in relationality to like what is or is not appropriate. And I feel like it has to do as it relates to the expectations that we have to others. There's something I'm seeing here that almost feels like, the best way I can describe it is almost like the modality by which another person says, right? And it's like, I gotta stress this. This feels like Aries getting hard on jealous energy. And the reason I'm saying jealous energy is somebody literally saying to somebody, like somebody helping another person see that something that they're working through is jealousy, right? And the word jealousy that's coming through so sharply on that, the best way I can describe it is the space by which we don't get reactive because there's something that we wish, and you'll often see this, like when another person is being spiteful, they're doing something that is incomprehensible, right? So spiteful energy is often incomprehensible because the spite is arising from jealousy. And I feel like that's what I see some Aries energy pointing out to someone, which is saying, be careful with your spite, right? Be careful with your spite, because if your spite does not have a reason, it's jealousy, right? If you're being unreasonably spiteful, if you're being spiteful to someone and you can't identify the reason, then the reason is most often than not having to do with jealousy. And so I feel like that is almost a lot. It's interesting because I almost feel like I see a lot of Aries. It's actually, I was going to say a lot of Aries going into Aquarian lessons, which is asking questions to try to get to the bottom of another person's spite, to say, if we can't find the bottom of it, I'm afraid I have to let you know, it looks like you've got yourself a case of jealousy right there. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, right? There it is. And here's the thing about it. Like other signs, I like to point this out. It has to, other signs will say that to someone jealous, like we'll say that to someone delicately. Here, Aries, I know you like Band-Aid rips. Like that's the thing about it. It feels like ripping off a Band-Aid because, and I feel like there's something about, the one thing I'll say for you, Aries, is like not everything needs to be, when there's a Band-Aid rip, there's often a backlash. That's all I'm going to say, Aries. Okay, and I'm not, I know, you know what I'm saying here. I'm not to say that you can't have that conversation, but just remember, Band-Aid rips lead to backlashes. Sometimes easing someone into their feelings, even if we know them to be true, sometimes easing someone into their emotions is the best way to do it, because the truth can scald someone if they are not recognizing it within them. So make sure that if you're delivering scalding truth, you're at least blowing on it first. Is what I keep on getting. If you're giving someone a plate of hot truth, just warn them. Be like, are you ready? It's like ease them into it. Just tell them, like, try to be a little bit patient with what it is that you're trying to deliver to them. I know it's not, I know what you feel when I say the word patient, but just remember, okay, Band-Aid rips lead to backlashes. You can guide someone into an understanding of what you see that they might not be aware of more gently than having to feed them a harsh truth. That is all of our tarot astrology for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personals today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent tarot class on the court cards of the wand suit. Our next class will be held on Thursday, May 21st at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the court cards in the Pentacle suit. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I do my best to give you an update on everything we have studied prior to beginning the next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class system, as well as the opportunity of receiving a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events, as well as my online live schedule and my mystic meditation articles, which give you updates on everything we've been seeing in the cards. I just wrote one recently on navigating this full moon energy. I'm going to have one out shortly on the new moon that we've got coming up. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm also able to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay on top of your journey at a discount, as well as dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow. That is our daily collective read. We are going to get started on personal readings. Avatar, congratulations. You got our highest gifter today. And Cav, you came in second, so you'll have an additional card in your reading. If anybody else would care to get on the list right now, we've got 5 spots left before the list will be closed. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Binks in my Lio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I don't read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also going to be doing a giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen. We will get to 50K in no time. I'm going to take a moment to read over some of the comments that came through as I was reading. If you're joining us across the other apps, you can also get on the list today. If you're joining us on the place where we keep the videos, your paid subscription there entitle you to the same benefits that I've stated for those who are subscribers. You also get a free 1 card each day. I'd like to be able to offer that over on the place where we keep the photos. I need your help with that, friends. So if you're joining us there, just take a moment to give me a follow there. And when you do so, I'm happy to thank you with an affirmation from a guide for the advanced soul. If you're already following me there, just share this live with 3 individuals and comment shared, and I'll be happy to give you that affirmation as well. For those who are interested in the list right now, the list we have currently is Melissa, Angelic, Ava, Kath, and Avatar. And if anybody else wants to get on the list right now, you will be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 person read for. Hi there, Mark. Good to see you today. Absolutely. I know, more cats and pups. Absolutely. Hi there, Now and Jen. I've been there, and thank you guys for supporting each other with these reads. How you doing today, Creative? Welcome, Ryan. Yeah, Pisces Sun, Scorpio Rising, Libra Moon. Oh, this should be an interesting week for you, soul. Just on time, Pisces. Welcome. Pisces Rising, welcome. I'm a Pisces, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Gemini Rising. Love it. Hi there, MB. Pisces Moon is an overwhelming placement for me, so I cannot imagine all of this. I like a Pisces Moon, though. It's like, it's big imagination energy, right? But it's hard. You just have to make sure you don't let your imagination carry you to places that you don't want to go. Hi there, MB. Peace right back to you as well, dear. Yeah, it's something else. Straight up truth. Thank you as well for this, receiving this, Susan. Capricorn Sun, welcome, Shervon. And Jess, thank you for the follow. Grand Rising, Nina. Thank you. We started with Pisces. Hi there, Ava. Thank you for confirming. Kelly, thank you for the follow. Excellent. And thank you, Calvin, for those heart knees. Guys, make sure to give Calvin some love. Oh, I was reading it. That was confirming it. Thank you, Calvin. So good to see you. Readers supporting readers. T is certainly different. How you doing today, Bridget? Grand Rising, Ella. Thank you for the share and thank you for reposting. Sisendo, thank you for the follow. Adam, thank you for those heart knees. Username, thank you for the follow. Leo Rising, whoop whoop. Hi there, Siobhan. Good to see you. Thank you, Mamo, for confirmation. Grand Rising, Farrelly. Done holding the done holding the door. Tap to claim, Ella. And user 123, thank you for the follow. Mamo, thank you for sharing the live. We become very clear. How are you doing today, Abdul? Cancer Moon, tap to claim, Ava. Yes, feeling super protective. Gemini Rising, thank you, Denise. Gemini Sun, whoop. Hi there, Kath. I've got you on the list. Yep. Looking forward to our read. Thank you for those gifts, dear. Taurus Moon, Shervon, welcome. Absolutely. Me too. Despite typically come from jealousy, especially when it's projected onto one. Exactly. Yeah, so basically that's what I was seeing. Like that was the hot take I see Aries delivering or receiving this week, right? Spite without reason is often jealousy, right? If you can't articulate a reason why one is being spiteful, it's probably from jealousy. Julie, thank you for sharing the live. I'm Capricorn with Pisces Rising, Cancer Moon, sending you. Yeah, I mean, like this type, I feel like this was like, I didn't mind the cards I was seeing for Capricorn. So I feel like in that way, it's going to be helpful. It's going to be a good week, productive week for Caps. All right, we're going to get started on personal readings. I am not going to be on as long as I typically am today. So if you want to secure a spot on the list, I encourage you to do so sooner rather than later. That said, first person we're reading for today is Melissa. Melissa, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And if anybody else wants to get on the list today, it's a great time to get on the list. We've got 5 spots left before the list will be closed. So good to see you. And while we wait for Melissa's question, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10, and when we get to 1, I'll reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the hind. We'll do that again after the next reading. And I am going to pin up Melissa here. Guys, make sure to give Melissa some love. And we're doing a dream interpretation. Just a reminder, friends, if you have a dream that you would like interpreted, you can include it in the notes when you send the donation. You can also post it in our subscriber-only disco channel in the appropriate channel. I'm just pulling up Melissa's dream here. And you know what we do here when we've got a dream reading. We bust out the dream coconut. I've got the dream coconut here. Ooh. All right, what do we got here? Outside tea. I keep having these dreams about an apartment in California. Same situation where I realized I have an apartment there. I had an upcoming payment due. I was going through my mail and the complex said they sent me a check for $2,500, which was my security deposit. I also found other checks from random places. I like seeing the random funds coming in. I wondered if I still had an apartment. I believed I might have been behind one payment and they probably realized I never stepped foot into the apartment, so they saved me instead of charging me. I was on my way there and weirdly my route told me I needed to drive through Canada. I picked up a random person who stayed in the trunk of my vehicle as I was crossing the bridge. That was interesting. There's this one part of the state that I also kept noticing is problematic. One dream, the gas is overly expensive. Another dream, a random storm occurs. Another dream, there's excessive traffic. This dream, I'm looking at the route and I'm saying now let's avoid this new area. Can I save one card? Okay, on an energy read. I got you. Three cards on the dream, please. And one card on that energy. So the dream is a manifestation goal dream. And the reason you keep on having it is because sometimes when we have dreams related to manifestation goal dreams, they help us see how far we are from our manifestation goal. And so what we're identifying here is potentially you recognizing and trying to find a sublime situation, which is a situation that would be absolutely perfect to you. Now, you said that you keep on having dreams about this apartment in California and it's important to notate that you don't actually have an apartment there, but it's the observation in the dream space by which it feels like you remember that you do. And the ability by which you're remembering you do is helping you effectively envision what the ideal situation would be for you. And one of the things that we see is that in the dream space, you recognized that you had this because you identified the fact that there was a payment due on it. And you said that you were going through the mail and the place by which it was located sent you a check for $25,000, which was a security deposit. But you also found other checks from random places. Now, we need to pause here because it's very interesting when we see words and numbers in dream spaces, because typically we cannot read in dreams. So there is a valuation point that we understand in the $25,000. And I would not be surprised, right? I would not be surprised if $25,000, the thing we have to recognize about that is typically when you get a security deposit is first month and last month, right? And so it's not just the fact that it's first month or last month, but when you split that, then what it's probably showing you is an amount for an apartment that you feel would be in your purview as what you would identify as energetically reasonable, or something that you feel that you could potentially swing or manage, because again, we're working into the context of energetically recognizing what would be ideal. So I believe, if I'm doing my math right, that would be an apartment that's about $12.50 a month, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if you tell me that you're potentially been on the lookout for an apartment that's about $12.50 a month, because the space by which you see indications of the fact that somebody shows that you gave them a check for $25,000, the security deposit is also the fact by which you said that you see checks coming in from random places. This is basically potentially your higher self talking to you in the dream space, saying that you might feel that there's an ability, like if you were to find an apartment that's a $12.50, then you would be able to feel that you'd be able to get the money that would be necessary in order to put a security deposit like that together very quickly. And that's why you said you like seeing random funds coming in, because it would effectively articulate to you something that pays for itself rather than something that felt like you were perpetually trying to pay for it. And you said you wondered if you still had an apartment, and you said you believed that you might have been behind one payment, and they probably realized that you'd never stepped foot into the apartment, so they saved you instead of charging you. And you being on your way there, this is also identifying the care that you're probably looking for as it relates to a landlord, which is not someone who's trying to take an advantage of a situation, but someone who is conscientious and not wanting to put you out if you're not in the space of occupying something. So we are seeing, what are we seeing that's happening in the dream space? We're seeing all of the notes that would compose an ideal manifestation goal for you. So basically working with, right, having, finding a location with $12.50 a month with a landlord that is more concerned about you, right? More concerned about your needs and where you are than what they could take from you. And that's why you said that you believed that you might be behind, and you never realized you stepped foot in the apartment, because that's the understanding of someone who is very kind. You said you were on your way there, and weirdly the route told you you needed to drive through Canada. And you picked up a person who stayed in the trunk of your vehicle as you were crossing the bridge. And again, effectively, and you said that was interesting because, and it's interesting too, in the space by which you said that you needed to put somebody in their trunk in order to bring them with you, because it's the same energy that we see that you're identifying in relationality to what you're seeking in a manifestation goal versus how you find yourself in the context of the dream space. Because in the manifestation goal, what you're basically saying is somebody who is willing to energetically bend the rules, right? Like, what did you see about that landlord? They're bending the rules in terms of what they can do for what they know is the right thing to do. So somebody who effectively identified that even though they could be getting rent from you, they didn't feel that it was fair to do so if you weren't necessarily in the apartment yet, which we see the same energy that you're bringing into the space by which you're helping someone out by putting them in your trunk, which is the indication or the observation of helping someone get somewhere if they don't have the means or the ability to get there on their own. So that's you almost moving through the same energy, right? It's an observation that articulates that when we embody the energy that we're looking for, that's often the space by which we work to find it, because we're becoming the source of generosity in our own experience. Now, it's interesting too, because in the space by which we see that the dream itself moves into a car, it actually starts moving away from a manifestation dream so much as it starts to be a conversation upon building into relationship, because there's two meanings with the individual in the trunk, which is the space by which you are either helping someone, or it's the difference between traveling with someone intentionally versus someone who is getting a ride with you. Okay? And that's why you said that you had to go through Canada, because going through Canada means the fact that you're in foreign territory, that something about a move is putting some of your relationships in foreign territory, because it's the question as to whether someone is going to come with you, right? Or if they're going to be visiting you. Now, if they were coming with you, then they would effectively be in the car with you. They wouldn't be in the trunk. They would be driving beside you, because their manifestation goals would be in alignment with your own. They would be going to the same location with you, versus someone who potentially wants to get a ride with you, right? Or sees something beneficial in you being somewhere because it's advantageous to them getting somewhere that they want to go. So this is where the dream starts to become a dream about shadow work as it relates to healthy relationship. And that's why you said that you noticed that there was one part of the state that you kept noticing was problematic, and you identified the fact that the gas was too expensive, because it's the observation of potentially working through relationship to identify the eagerness, the difference in the eagerness between someone who wants to live with us versus someone who is eager to visit us, which has to do with the ability that when we're moving in together, then it is beneficial because we effectively navigate the finances effectively, versus the space by which where the gas becomes too expensive, which would identify a relationship with someone that isn't necessarily aspiring or desiring to build into a enmeshed partnership with you, but is only in a relationship for the perks, right? They're only in relationship for the benefits. So that's why you identified that. You said in the dream you were looking at the root and you said, no, I'm going to avoid that area, right? Because if somebody, it's like almost like the observation of someone who talks towards you to encourage you to do something, less because they know it's best for you, but more because they're thinking about themselves and the benefits that would come in you making that decision. That's why you identified that you were avoiding that area. Now, this brings us to the energy read that you had on that person. I would not be surprised if you feel that there's something that's happening in your relationship based upon some kind of conversation about the possibility of moving somewhere. Because the desire to move somewhere can often make or break a relationship, because it's the observation as to whether another person wants to come with us, that they themselves are eager to move towards that mutual manifestation goal, or if the manifestation goal between you and another person is fundamentally changing, given the observation of something that you're planning to do that's becoming more and more a reality. Bottom of the deck on this reading, yeah, there's that Lover's card in its reversal. As it relates to why this person did not reach out, I feel like there's something. Are you guys in the midst of an argument? I feel like there's some kind of argument here. And I keep on getting, it feels almost like someone that did not respond knowing that it was going to provoke a reaction from you. You know, like it almost feels like the continuation of a conversation and not doing something that they felt they knew internally would elicit a reaction from you that would allow them to be able to facilitate speaking with you. So make sure that it isn't a distraction. Make sure whatever you're talking about isn't distracted by the fact that they didn't communicate, because I almost feel like the lack of communication is a distraction because they knew that the argumentation around it would allow them to avoid whatever it was that you were arguing about in the first place. Thank you so much for having that reading with me, dear. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. I've got 5 spots left today before the list will be closed. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also doing a giveaway when we get to 50K likes, so make sure you're tapping that screen, and we will get to 50K in no time. Next person we are reading for today is Angelic. Angelic, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you'd like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And while we wait for and I'm going to take a moment to read over the comments that came through as I was reading. Thank you, Kaishi, for the follow. Thank you for the compliment, Melissa. Looks like I'm learning my lesson to avoid driving through whatever area that is. Yeah, normally we can't see those in dreams. Exactly. That's a trip. Oh, I know, right? Yeah, where can I find one of those? It's possible. You see, it's possible. So again, the fact that that number seems like something that would be doable is why it was showing up in the dream space. Sounds good. And thank you for reposting, Ava. Hi there, Angelique. You wrote it in the payment. I got you, dear. All right, and while I take a moment to pull up Angelique's question, let's warm up the intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide cards here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the bear. We'll do that again after the next reading. Got it. Okay. We're doing an energetic read on an individual. Can I please get 4 cards? Mary, I'm going to ask you to stop repeating the same statement in the comments. It's not polite to those who are trying to communicate in the chat space. I would encourage you to head over to our code of conduct that's pinned in my profile. If you proceed, it will result in you being muted. Ms. Mang, these are donation-based reads, so if you'd like to get on the list today, the list is open. It is 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Okay. All right, I'm reading over. And I've got it here. 4 cards, please. The one thing I'm seeing in relationality to this is just making sure that you and them are on the same page as it relates to the type of relationship that you're seeking. You know, because to me, it has nothing, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that there isn't a mutual attraction here. Like I see somebody, I see somebody who feels a lot of attraction towards you. The hard part about it has more to do with the whether they want the same relationship as you, because I almost see somebody that's trying to, I see somebody that has, I keep on hearing it's okay to have a lot of relationships around the self as long as one has clarity in terms of what's occurring and the shape and nature of who else is in their life at this moment. And so, and I think that this is, I don't know why, but I just keep on seeing somebody who has a lot of energy around them. And I keep on hearing the conversation that you need to have is what qualifies as friend. What qualifies as friend? And I keep on hearing, we're not passionate. We're not passionate with friends. We're not passionate with friends, which means there's no blurred line between passion and friendship. Those are paramours, is what I keep on getting. There's no blurred line between passion and friendship. Being able to define to somebody and say, are these friends or are these paramours? Because paramours are effectively identifying and recognizing that it's more than a friendship if there's something that has occurred between them and that person. So I want you to be very conscientious with that going forward, particularly and especially, I keep on hearing, having conversations with them about the history of intimacy. And when we're in a healthy space, then there's no confusion on the history of intimacy, which is to say it's not that it's not unusual to sometimes have relationships that have changed in the context of time, the space by which we may articulate to another and say, like, yes, we used to be intimate, but no longer are we, or the fact that something has changed there. But make sure that you're having a conversation. I keep on saying, make sure that you're having a conversation with them about the difference between friends and paramours. Because friends, there's no intimacy. There's no intimacy when we articulate the word friend. Like when the reason, the qualifier by which we articulate friend is the fact that it is operating in the platonic space. But when we articulate paramour, then we identify to another and say, yes, we are friends, but sometimes it is something more. So make sure that that person is not trying, again, make sure that you're having a clear conversation in terms of whether they're looking for an enmeshed relationship, or if you're seeing the fact that they're trying to collect paramours. Bottom of the deck. But especially because if there has been some kind of period of time that keeps passing, right? Especially if it feels like there's somebody who's not coming towards you in a consistent fashion. Remember, an enmeshed relationship is a consistent relationship. An enmeshed relationship is a relationship by which we build consistency because we know what to expect. We know the next time we're going to see each other. We know the space by which we plan. We don't create the question mark in relationality to whether something's happening again. So especially your confirmation on this, if it feels like this person keeps on reappearing, disappearing, and reappearing out of the blue, right? And then, like, again, creating enough space by which you feel uncomfortable asking because you don't want to intrude, then recognize then that is someone that may be trying to build a paramour relationship with you. So it's the space by which it's okay to articulate to them and say, what do you expect to come from a relationship between us? Where do you expect this to go? What is your ideal relationship look like? And remember, don't just leave it. Don't leave it in the space by which they say, I want a relationship. Wanting a relationship is not a definitive state. Everybody wants a relationship. It's the nature of the relationship that you need to speak upon. If they have a tendency of avoiding that conversation, or if they move away from you when you try to have it, or they try to articulate that you're moving too fast, remember, it's never too fast to talk about an ideal. It's never too fast to talk about what we aspire and desire to have with one another, because talking about ideals is not promising that to each other. Ideals are not promises, but the ideals that we state to one another is how we prevent the space by which we move towards something that isn't necessarily for us. Because the toxic state would be someone who does not want to tell you that they're not inclined to relationship, but only after they build a bonded connection with you. So the space by which you now have feelings, and pay very close attention. If this is someone who only talks to you about plans once there are invested feelings there, because that is the sign that this is not a safe person to be with. Because when we're not safe, we let the feelings complicate the fact that we want something different. But when we're working in an ethical state, we are very clear with one another in terms of what it is that we're looking for before feelings are rendered, to make sure that we're saving each other from unnecessary pain or complication, particularly and especially if you notice a difference in terms of how they communicate to you, what they consider appropriate as it relates to how they reach out to you, that they then do not honor when you try to do the same thing back to them. Communication should be reciprocal, and if communication is not reciprocal, then you're noticing a tendency of someone with boundary issues. And the problem with someone with boundary issues is sometimes a boundary issue doesn't feel like a bad thing. Sometimes a boundary issue is articulated in somebody feeling the right to do something that they do not allow for us to do in the same proportion. So that is potentially, again, reaching out of the blue. If you've noticed that you can't reach out of the blue, or trying to make plans with you last minute when they're not energetically responsive and receptive in terms of whether you try to do the same thing. Make sure that someone's not trying to create a one-sided paramour situation, which is you potentially waiting to hear from them, but never feeling like you can reach out to them and have it received in the same way. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to experience them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list is open. You will be the 1, 2, 3, 4th person read for. 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more. 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers. Links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight on anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. We're also at 15.8K likes When we get to 50K, I will be gifting a reading back to the collective. So make sure you're tapping that screen and we'll get to 50K in no time. All right. Hi there, April. How you doing today? These are donation-based readings, Moon. So if you'd like to send the donation, I'm happy to read for you. It's 3 cards for $29 or more for non-subscribers. That's so true. Thank you for confirmation, Simp. He was being a bit distanced before that. I'm hoping that things will continue to move forward. Well, let the recognition as to whether this becomes consistency be key. But if it continues the way it was, then let it be more of the space, making sure someone's not trying to create an imbalanced paramour situation. That has happened before. Thank you. It definitely resonated. You're welcome, dear. And Team Osana, thank you for sharing the live. Always appreciate when you guys share the live. Next person we're reading for today is Ava. Ava, if you're here, can you respond in all caps? Let me know if you would like a general reading or if you have a specific question you'd like me to answer. And while we wait for Ava's question, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide card here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the frog. We'll do that again after the next reading. And I'm going to pin up Ava here. Guys, make sure to give Ava some love. Just bear with me a moment. All right. Where were we? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got it. All right, I got you, dear. Oh, it didn't show up. Oh, no problem, Bridget. Okay, 4 cards for Ava, please. I mean, what I'm basically seeing here is I basically see somebody still in a karmic cycle that you've energetically overcome. And the thing about it is, like, what I'm identifying, the best way I can describe what I'm seeing is I want to tell you, I literally see a situation and it feels like somebody, I think we've talked about it. It feels like this person was karmically connected to you in a past life. This karmic that you're in the process of healing from. And what you can often identify with a karmic that you're in the process of healing from is saying, like, what would you do without me? Right? I feel like I create, like pay attention to somebody who doesn't bring us anything but problems, but tries to articulate that the benefit of us having them in our experience is the fact that they're a grounding force in our life. Okay? Like the most toxic karmic person that you'll ever meet will effectively bring nothing but grief to you. They'll drop nothing but grief at your feet and then ask you to thank them because they are doing such a good job being that grounding force, failing to recognize that energy does not need to be grounded, that often the energy that tries to provide a grounding force grinds another person to pulp in the process. Like there's that energy that articulates that they're a grounding force, and all they're doing is grinding another person to a pulp because another person aspires to have more with them. And instead of getting more, the energy just pushes back and gives them less and less. So I see this kind of toxic cycle. And I keep on getting in the Akashic, you never did this. You never succeeded in this in the past life. This has been a monumental, breakthrough in this life. I see the fact that you overcame this, and you have to understand, like what's hard about overcoming a situation like this is it's not about the fact that feelings go away, but the observation that the feelings remain, even though we observe that we want entirely different things. So I see you having moved away from a toxic situation that I keep on seeing. It's not the fact that it was toxic beyond the fact that you recognize that you were holding your breath. And holding your breath means when you're holding your breath in a relationship that's not going anywhere, you're basically blocking your blessings, right? Sometimes blocking your blessings is identified as holding your breath in an impossible partnership, which is the modality by which it's not going in any direction that you hope, but you're afraid to leave it because any day now, right? Any day now, their feelings might change, and then, oh my gosh, you don't want to miss it if that occurs. So I feel like that is the work that I see that you're healing. And I can see that it's compounded by the fact that you're also recognizing that another person, and it's like to add salt to the wound, potentially recognizing a situation where someone is giving another person all of the things that they could have easily given you, right? Sometimes that provides even more closure because it's the observation in terms of what another truly desired versus what they claim that they didn't, versus what we find. I feel like this person around you, I don't even think it might be involved with this particular person, but they're still in that karmic cycle. They're still navigating that karmic cycle. And that karmic cycle is one by which I feel like, and I keep on seeing this, the way you'll know this is true is if you and them used to bond over what you were holding your breath upon. Did you used to bond over what you were holding your breath upon? And if the answer is yes, then that is your clarification on why they're coming to you in the dream space. Because, and this is what's hard, and I don't think they're doing it intentionally. Okay? I don't think they're doing it intentionally. But I keep on getting, you guys used to be maids in waiting. You guys used to be maids in waiting together. And maids in waiting are like, again, it's not happening. But any day now, that person's going to come. Like, what do maids in waiting say? It's not happening. It's not happening. But any day now, right? Any day now, they might come around. And and I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. Any day now, they might come around, and oh my goodness, like I better not go anywhere because I'm just, I'm never gonna forgive myself if the day that I'm not here, they arrive and they choose someone else because I wasn't here waiting for them. Now, as it relates to that particular person, the thing you have to understand is these kind of karmic cycles are usually not connected entirely to a particular individual, but the way by which we gravitate and move. So I feel like I see somebody, and I feel like that's the thing about it. I see you having overcome something. I see you actively in the space by which you're moving on. And I almost see this energy that is potentially going through something that was similar to what you were going through. I keep on seeing what you were going through about a year ago, which is potentially wrestling, right? Potentially wrestling as to whether they should stay or whether they should go, is what I keep on getting. Like there's a lot of this, I feel like I see a lot of this metronome energy on somebody who's like pacing the floor and saying, what do I do? What do I do? Do I keep on waiting for something to get better, or do I move along? Do I continue forward? So I feel like there's something about that's energetically, and it's interesting too, because the funny thing about what I'm reading for here is it doesn't feel like somebody who was dream walking to you. It feels like one of their guides bringing them to you to show them to you. Like I literally see a situation I'm reading for that it feels like one of their guides is stepping forward and saying, I brought them over. I brought them over to see how well you were doing. Like it feels like one of their guides that's trying to show them that they can survive something, because they're showing you as example and they're saying, see, look at them. They're thriving right now, right? There's something on the other side of this. So it's interesting because the guy, like, this is not a dream walking situation. It feels like a guide. It feels like a guide that was bringing them to you so that they could see you and see how well you're doing, to give them the wherewithal to be able to potentially take some kind of step away from a toxic cycle that's hurting them. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, this is what we talk about with the transformative power of breaking cycles, because cycle breakers help others recognize that cycles can be broken, right? And that on the other side of breaking a bad cycle is usually a better one, is what I keep on getting. So you guys are karmically connected, because I see somebody, like I literally see somebody who is remembering or recalling the fact that some conversation they had with you at some point feels very similar to what they're currently experiencing. And the space by which they don't see you caught in that cycle, but having overcome it and moved on, is giving them the encouragement and impetus to recognize that that is something that they could be doing too. So I want you to understand that this is the beauty. Like, this is what we talk about that's so beautiful. Like, this is what happens that's so beautiful. Like, our karma affects others, becomes ancestral healing, because when we overcome something karmically, then we help the energy around us understand that they can do it too. So even, I keep on hearing, even if they're not ready, like even if they don't choose to, they know that that is a choice, right? They know that it is a choice, not something that is predetermined for them. Thank you so much for having that reading with me. And if this message connected to you as well, it's very common for those who need these messages to be here to receive them. We are doing personal readings right now. If you would like to get on the list, it's a great time to get on the list. You will be the third person read for 3 cards for a donation of $29 or more, 4 cards for a donation of $23 or more for my subscribers, links in my bio. Please keep in mind there are 3 things I do not read for across these apps: pregnancy, medical, and legal. Happy to give insight in anything in private readings, and you can book private readings on my site. I'm also keeping the list somewhat closed today, so I'm probably only going to be taking maybe 1 more person on the list today. So if you would like to secure that final spot, you can send the donation in. I'll be happy to add you to the list. We're also at 21K likes over on the Clock app. When we get to 50K, I'll be gifting a reading back to the collective, so make sure you're tapping that screen. We'll get to 50K in no time. And if you're joining us over on the place where we keep the videos, your membership there entitles you to the same benefits that I've articulated for those who are on the Clock app, including a free card each day. And I'd like to offer that over on the place where we keep the photos, but I need your help for that. All you need to do is make sure to give me a follow there. And if you give me a follow, I will give you, as a thank you, an affirmation from a guide for the advanced soul. If you're already following me there, just share this live with 3 individuals and comment share it. I'll be happy to do so as well. Excellent. And just reading over. Thank you, Lucas, for those gifts. So good to see you today, dear. Guys, make sure to give Lucas some love. Readers supporting readers. Whoa, did you say the frog and it didn't show up? That's hilarious. You're having Nikki issues. Nikki's issues with the same person. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing the live, Lucas. I appreciate you. And thank you for being a part of my fan club for a year. Is she going through this? I don't think it's the same. I don't know. I'm not necessarily seeing it's the same person. But it doesn't have to be the same person to be the same cycle. My life is much better without. Tap to claim, Team Osana. It's been so difficult because I'm picking up on both their energies. No, I get it. And I think it's interesting too, because I see both of those energies actively missing you, but in very different ways. You know? I know it feels impossible to shake off. I don't think you need to shake it off. I think you just need to integrate it and incorporate it. Nobody has power to keep you where you don't desire to be energetically. 681. And I think that that's a really good, I feel like that is literally the type of energy that I was picking up on when I was reading. Not to my knowledge, but that's why the message came through. Yeah, it was a year ago. It is a beautiful gift, Julia. And listen, being surrounded by karmics is not necessarily a bad thing. I need to point out, we have to get out of this. We have to get out of this modality by which we immediately hear karmic and we think that there's some kind of negative, perpetually negative application to it. It's not entirely negative. It's an observation of a lesson that we're working through. Yeah, you know, it's not always a bad thing, but it's strong energy. I can see it. You're so welcome, dear, and sending you so much support through it. Thank you for the heart, Lana, and thank you, Team Osana, for sharing the live and for confirmation. You did win, Avatar, and perfect timing, because I've got calf next, and then you're after calf. And like I said, friends, if you want to get on the list today, I'm probably only taking 1 more person on the list today before the list will be closed. So if you'd like to secure that spot, please make sure you send the donation sooner rather than later. Anybody else who gets on the list after that will have first priority tomorrow, which means you'll be read. If you get on today, you'll be read before we start the Day Collective tomorrow. Kath, if you could let me know if we're doing a general reading or if you have a specific question. And while we wait for Kath's question, let's warm up those intuition muscles with an intuition check. I've got the animal spirit guide card here. We're going to count back from 10. And when we get to 1, I will reveal the card. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the cat. We'll do that again after the next reading. And Kath, can you just let me know what type of reading we're doing, dear? And for those who are interested, we read for here life path, highest priority messages from spirit, angelic guidance, dream interpretation, past life mediumship, love readings, pet readings, animal spirit guide readings, Akashic, mind, body, spirit, love, and aura. Next quarter, highest priority. Got you, dear. Guys, I'm pinning up Kath here. Make sure to give Kath some love.